Good day and welcome to the latest episode of the IOTA panels. I am Brian Sherman, host and moderator of today's session on the 2021 outlook for MSPs. It's kind of hard to say 2021. I know I'd rather say that than 2020 these days, but the fantastic news is that we have an all-star cast of industry experts ready to share their observations and insight, including Dan Wensley, CEO of ScalePad, Adam Slutskin, Chief Revenue Officer for Liongard, and Zak Karsan, CEO of Vault America. Welcome all. How about if we begin with a quick round of personal and company introductions? And let me start with Zak.
Sure. How you doing, guys? Nice to be here, Brian. Thanks very much for putting this all together in IOTA. I'm out of Boston, Massachusetts, Vault America. We provide data protection and availability solutions. We work around 4 pillars: backup, recover, archive, and discover. Our focus is really geared towards MSPs and trying to help them round out their security bundle with things like 365 backup, file folder, endpoint backup, and disaster recovery solutions.
Good. We'll move over to Adam. Adam, we got you on mute.
The saying of 2020. You're on mute.
Oh, man, isn't that it? Zoom, everybody trying to unmute. So first of all, it's just good to see everybody. Haven't seen you guys in person in forever. So it's always good to be with you guys. But Adam Slutskin, Chief Revenue Officer of Liongard, and just a longtime big fan of being in the MSP ecosystem. Liongard is just a company, if you're not familiar with it, the last two and a half years really is taken off. And where we live in is in that automated documentation spectrum, where we're really capturing all the information for everything that really isn't about the endpoint, and being able to capture all that information and then be able to create actionable alerts and create a timeline that really on the enterprise side you would hear kind of referred to as change management. And it's kind of been exciting being part of the growth on this side. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Welcome. Looking forward to the discussion. Let's round it out with Dan.
Thanks for reminding me to unmute there, Adam. I'm sure I would have done it if you hadn't. So hi, everybody. My name is Dan Wensley. I'm the CEO here of ScalePad. You may have noticed some extreme branding going on. We were up until a few months ago known as Warranty Master over the last 5 years. And we just went through a rebrand with a relaunch of some new features in our product. So this is my constant reminder not to say Warranty Master too often by mistake, and make sure I'm correctly addressing us as ScalePad. So we do asset lifecycle management for both hardware and now software, and warranty services for over 8,000 MSPs in 76 countries around the globe, and very much looking forward to today's conversation with these two guys. Again, we wish we were doing this live as we typically would in normal times, but look forward to today's conversation. Thanks, Brian.
Definitely. We'll hopefully get back to the live meetings 2021. Maybe 2022. I'm optimistic, but yeah, and it's nice that you have the branding, Dan, because we won't mess it up either now. Makes it easy. So thank you, team, for helping us with that. So let's get into the discussion, because I know we want to look ahead, but let's look at the current situation in the channel. What's the current feel in the MSP community? And I'm going to just throw that out to the panel. Jump in, whoever would like to. Or I'll pick somebody if I have to.
I'll tell you. I mean, I think the MSP community, I think we're blessed to be in this industry, first off. It's operating, it's working. I think ultimately a lot of people are going through a lot of different things personally, right, with everything going on. So it just depends. I think that there are people who are completely optimistic, like they're looking to the future, and whether it's 1 year down the road or maybe even 2. The MSPs are pretty excited with driving. I think they're driving a lot more business for a lot of opportunities that are coming from their customers. So they're able to, I've seen them gain a lot more revenue and a lot more traction. So I think it's making those guys happy. At the same time, I think depending on the situation and the customers and the verticals, maybe some MSPs are going after or have as customers, they might be seeing some fallout and maybe a little more frustrated. So obviously good energy, optimistic, that's the way to go. But at times, you feel like you need some therapy. So it's just a matter of kind of who the MSP is and what their environment is, and maybe what's going on in their personal lives as well.
What are your thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think, in this community, we live so much closer with our customers, right? It's why in this industry, we all generally call them partners. So I think we really shared a lot of the same challenges, right? We all kind of fell into this unknown and we were all trying to make adjustments. And, for some, I think even on the vendor side, it was better than for others. But, overall, I think as we've moved throughout the year, there's been so many stories of optimism from the MSPs. A lot of them experienced very good growth. There are some that maybe if you focused in on hospitality, a couple of them I know, they definitely, they felt it. And, but what I've seen is a lot of MSPs use this year to take stock in their business and make adjustments, which I think is going to be just a massive value as they look into 2021. We kind of all got through this. We made the adjustments. We learned a lot of things. We learned about areas that we were exposed in, whether you're on the MSP side or the vendor side. And I do believe there were adjustments made. By the way, massive amounts of M&A, so many opportunities. You're seeing a lot of MSPs really grow. I'd like to hear what Dan thinks about that, what he's seeing.
Yeah, it's been an incredible time. I mean, all of us have the gray hair. Adam, I'm sure, other than your great coloring job there, all of us have the gray hairs to
Definitely
go along.
some coloring, full disclosure.
You can look at Adam.
But I mean, we as an industry, incredibly responsive to all change, and whether it's the 9/11, whether it was the .bomb era, whether it was the economy breakdown of 2008. This is what has spawned and really shown the best in people and us as an industry. And I think there's been no better example of that than what we've gone through here in 2020. It's been change is hard. Change is the hardest thing to implement, the hardest thing to sell to your customers. But when forces changed upon you, this is when you shine the brightest. I mean, we, and I'll internalize it a little bit. We as an organization pivoted extremely rapidly, and I'm extremely proud of that as an organization. We launched new products, we launched new services that were, partisan to what was going on inside the marketplace. And I'm so extremely proud of partners we talked to who took advantage of technologies they all had maybe and weren't utilizing, adopted new technologies, and really adapted. I think it's been one of the most difficult times probably, and certainly in our industry from many respects. But just what we saw in 2008, we came out of it stronger. We came out of it sharper. Innovation, Adam, the term you used, I think is absolutely, and change drives innovation. And I think we'll ultimately all come out of this stronger, better service delivery models, better value, more profitable, because when times are good, it's easy. We're always innovating. This industry is always growing, always looking how to do better. But when change is forced upon you, that happens even more rapidly. So I think it's been an incredible, to all the other, S word aside, this has been an incredible time for us as an industry.
Yeah, I think one of the things we saw, like initially when the pandemic hit and everybody had to shift what they were doing, there was a lot of change going on, a lot of scrambling, but I think MSPs really rose to the occasion. And then everybody kind of, I won't say took a step back, but they reassessed, it seemed like for a month or two. Everybody was kind of figuring out what they need to do next and realizing the uncertainty wasn't going to end anytime quickly. We saw a lot of them pivot. Co-managed, I think, has grown significantly. I think I've seen so many MSPs talking about how they've shifted their business to try to take advantage and scale upwards, which is something they've been trying to do for years. All of a sudden they had the ability and also the urgency to do that. So those are some of the things I think I've seen.
Yeah, and I mean, just like, look, the one thing that's just, it's out there, we all had to deal with it. We all moved to virtual environments. And, for different organizations, there's always, there was a lot of fear, right, that productivity would go down dramatically. Well, I think now, right, every one of us would say 9 months later, there's no meeting breaks. We work more than ever because there's no buffers for the most part. You go from one Zoom or Teams meeting to the next, and you just wind up working, But I don't see that as a bad thing. I think it's good that we're learning because it opens up so much more talent, that when all of a sudden, potentially the world is your prospect base for building your company, for building your team. And I do believe that's the same for the MSPs. The MSPs, I know there's always been that, no, we've always got to be, first in front of the, of the client. And the reality is I'm talking to a lot of MSPs that are now doing a lot of that virtually. And it just creates more scale for them. You can touch more prospects.
Definitely. We have so much uncertainty right now. I want to throw out is, what do you think is the biggest current challenge that MSPs are facing? Dan, you look like you're ready to go.
I was waiting to copy Zach's answer. So I'm going to copy what Zach says. Look, Brian, just so we're clear. I think, so what was the question? Optimism on where they're looking today, or?
The biggest challenge right now, I think, that's existing, like in the current environment where MSP struggling.
I think, it's change. I'll refer back to change. It is, change has been forced among us. It's remote workforce. How do we operate our business remotely internally? How do we help support our customers who have gone remote? As Adam said, there are certain verticals that have been hit obviously harder than others. How do we pivot out of those? So I honestly see all challenges as opportunities. I've always been that way. It's just overall optimism. If there's a challenge put in front of us, create it into it's an opportunity to either change, to move. It's not, it's not a down. It's not a condition that you're headed downward. It's a condition that you need to change, or I hate to use the word pivot, but I'll do it again, to pivot to somewhere else, to look for expansion opportunities. I've seen nothing but phenomenal optimism, and folks that have been extremely challenged, and we have seen this in our own business with our own partners. And I'll give you a quick statistic. Although we changed our name from Warranty Master to ScalePad, warranty services business for our partners is up 75% this year, 75%. And we've been beating that drum, and many partners have been doing extremely well with extended warranty services. But this propelled more to do it, and propelled more to take advantage of it, propelled more to say, wow, I was leaving a lot of money on the table there. I maybe was missing out on a security vulnerability for my customer as well. And again, that the challenges we've gone through forced that positive change. So again, it created new opportunities for them. And when you see an increase in this kind of market and this kind of confusion of 75% in anything over a 90-day period, that's what's available. And frankly, it was available in Q1 of 2020. It was just the change needed to be forced, and it was applied in Q3 of 2020. So it's, again, I'm more optimistic, and that is not discounting the pain, the challenge, the amount of effort that needs to go into some of these things. But if you focus on the negative, that's where you're going to stay. Understand the negative and look for the positive.
Zach, do you want to copy his answer now?
Very positive, Dan. Yeah, no, I think obviously a good answer. I agree with everything Dan said. I think taking maybe a little different of an approach. I think if I put myself in an MSP light, again, what Adam was saying, just depending on your verticals, what Dan was kind of reiterating, ultimately, these guys still need to keep their customers, right? And initially, there was a reaction when this thing first started getting out there and all the problems started happening back in March, where some of our MSPs were calling saying, we lost this customer, delete them, right? And so we saw that and we're like, oh, that's where, kind of what's going to happen here, right? But ultimately, you get through some of that, right? And these MSPs have those relationships with their clients, which are so critical and so important. And those MSPs, like we just talked about, their revenues are going through the roof, right? They're not out at events, hanging out, which is always great. But at the same time, they're not picking up tchotchkes. They're not doing certain things. They're working inside their business, and they're helping those existing customers that need their help more than ever before, whether it's security, whether it's remote connectivity, or what have you, right? So I think being able to, recover from the fallout, which is going to happen, right? Those customers, they're not going to be able to afford it. They're going to fall or fail because they're in the wrong industry. That the environment's getting hit, unfortunately. But after that happened, I think now you kind of say, okay, well, they have these customers. They're able to maintain the customers they do have. How do we get more customers? But they have to continue to grow. Now, it is great that a lot of the revenues are, I've never seen MSPs increase revenue so fast, so much, because they're there for their customer, and that's what's needed. But ultimately, they still have to keep those customers, right? And hopefully they stand their ground, they don't reduce their pricing. Instead, they take, and this is the other challenge, is they have to stay relevant with the ever evolving technologies that are happening quicker and more quickly, whether it's Liongard or ScalePad or a security company that has remote monitoring detection. These are technologies that these MSPs have to adopt. They have to continue to look at vendors, look at new solutions and technologies and bundle them in. So if they can stay relevant, keep their product portfolio up to speed, up to date with the industry, even though they're not at these events, but still connecting with these vendors like us, who can help put those bundles together and optimize their internal operations, however that happens. I think ultimately, if they can stay relevant in those ways, then they can overcome some of those challenges that they're being faced with.
Any thoughts to add to that, Adam?
No, I mean, I think those guys covered it. I mean, you said biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge is, let's remember what we all learned this year, right? There's sometimes that habit, we traverse that challenging time. We made a lot of adjustments, and then when we kind of emerge on the other side, we drift away from what we've learned. And so I think that, the challenge, which I see as a positive, is let's remember what we learned this year and let's build on it. MSPs did, I think, an amazing job. It's a blessing that in this industry, for those of us that have come from the enterprise side, you just never really are as close, in that relationship as we are in this ecosystem. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And we feel that pain, whether you're, on either side. And by the way, I know a lot of MSPs empathize with, the vendors. We were going, through changes too. But just that relationship, it's so strong and stronger than any other industry I've been in. And I just think that the challenge is, let's remember what we learned this year. Let's not drift away from it. Let's build on it, because our ecosystem is going forward. The MSP ecosystem's here to stay, right? I mean, I'm with all these other veterans. Guys, 12 years ago, nobody could spell MSP. Nobody knew, right? And now today, I mean, we're known. Every major player, investor, everybody understands what we do and what we deliver for the SMB. And by the way, it really isn't the SMB anymore. Everybody is moving upstream. So we're going to have to get away from saying just for the SMB.
Well, MSP's on the exchange now, Adam. So we're covered. With that is it. When Datto got to where they put us there. That was it, right? There's the tipping point.
There it is.
From what is the definition of MSP? What does it stand for? To on the stock exchange? An incredible journey.
I've had a conversation with a lot of MSPs over the last couple of weeks, and the one thing I've been asking is, if it hadn't been for all the events in 2020, would you be doing things that you're doing now? Because many of them say, it took a shakeup for them to reassess where they're at. It's not saying a pandemic's a good thing by any means. There's a lot of suffering, but their point is, if it hadn't been forced upon them to make these changes, they wouldn't be in a better position today. And that's, I think, something definitely a lot of MSPs are thinking.
I think, Brian, I can't speak for Adam or Zach, but I will tell you that ScalePad wouldn't be in the position it is in without this shakeup. We accelerated roadmap. We listened to the partners. We changed. And Adam, I think, made a great point. We are in partnership, and in the early days, we had partners saying, "Listen, I've been a partner of Warranty Master for a lot of years, but we're cutting costs and we're going to drop it." And we said, "Wait a minute, I don't understand." And it was such a great opportunity to reevaluate the products and the services that they were having, but they were jettisoning things just to get rid of something off a line item because they didn't perceive value. And for the majority of them, we showed value. If you're not deriving revenue, and I remember back in 2008 in the economic downturn, and could not actually believe the number of then emerging MSPs who dropped their RMM. And we were one of them at Level Platforms. I said, "How can you be dropping this?" He said, if my CFO said, "If it's not making us money, it's gone." And it was such a short-sighted and view of it, just to jettison things that were actually going to increase your profitability, drive your business into the future. And many of them came back. And I know a couple of those MSPs to this day don't take a reactionary move without a plan. If you need to cut costs, cut costs. I'm absolutely not saying anything different than that, but it was the pivot point. Again, there I go again. It was the pivot point for so many of our partners to go, wow, I need to use asset lifecycle management in our case to drive revenue because other partners are. So I can't just use it as a lookup tool for warranties anymore, which is what we built back in 2015. It accelerated their use of even our own application, which was an absolute win-win. You know, we've been banging on that drum with them for years. So again, out of these hardships comes great success, great innovation. You know, we said, hey, do we change our name during this? Do we launch our software asset solution? Do we launch workstation warranty? And the answer was yes, we have to. We actually have to expedite this, not slow down. So I'm super proud of our business and our people, and I put a pretty big challenge on them to said, no, we need to be ScalePad before the end of the year. First of Q4, we were there and we made the launch, and that was no small task. So, and I know many MSPs did the same thing. Let's accelerate our business in certain areas. Let's go up market. Let's look for diversification of our verticals. Those are where the opportunities are.
Hey, Dan, sorry.
Go ahead, Zach. No, you go ahead.
Just real quick. I'm assuming you had plans to change the name of the company before the pandemic hit, right? This wasn't, hey, pandemic hit, let's shake some stuff up and change the name to ScalePad.
100%, Jack. It was in our long-term strategy to look at that. We were maturing as a product, and I won't share the whole backstory with you, but yes, it was in the plan, but we accelerated it by 2 quarters. This was a 2021 initiative that I had in the playbook and that we talked about at the board level, and we said, no, it's got to happen now. Same thing with workstation warranties that we launched this year. That was, maybe Q4 we'll get it. Times are good. You slow roll, right? You just say, we're doing well, everybody, let's just continue doing this. This accelerated it. And I think that was critically important for our business and critically important, more importantly, that we got it out to partners because they're the ones reaping the rewards of it.
Dan, any truth to the, it was either going to be ScalePad or Scooby Kangaroo? Was Scooby Kangaroo ever truly?
I couldn't get the trademark on Scooby Kangaroo, Adam, and it was, we threw around a lot of names. I will tell you, it's a fun exercise because we launched these, incredible new features, and everybody first wanted to talk about the name. Why? What is Scale? I hate the name. I love the name. I think it's great. I don't get it. What does it mean? And there was a real interest to go look on Joe Peneteri, who did a great cover story for us and interviewed Chris Day and myself for it. And the first comment was, don't like the name.
Yeah.
It was like, wow. So we are the launch pad for MSPs to help you better scale your business. That was the genesis of the name. So I'll get it out there. Thanks for asking.
but seriously, I think it's a good conversation, right? We're all always cautious. We all want to make sure we're measured in what we say. And this year has been horrible, in what we all had to go through. But that doesn't mean that we can't take the positives away. We shouldn't be scared to say that, look, this is something that none of us have ever lived through in our lifetime. We've lived through other challenges like you mentioned, Dan, and I, for one, was in New York City on 9/11, and it was the worst day of my life. It was horrible. It was unbelievable. And it didn't matter if you lived in New York or anywhere else in the world. It was horrible, right? But I will tell you, as a New Yorker, we were resilient. And anyone else that's out there that was in New York in that time frame, man, it was, you hate to say it, it was horrible, but it brought us together, And I always remember that, and just the spirit of being a New Yorker and being there during that. And to be fair, always constantly reminded, those buildings were gone, and there was all this activity and residual, but it really did make us stronger. And by the way, in technology, it made us stronger. If everybody remembers, up until then, that was the glut. I was in voice and telco, and that was the glut of data centers, right? And guess what? We had 15% occupancy because, disaster recovery hadn't really become to the forefront, mirroring your data for offsite replicate, all of these things. Nobody was really doing it, but being in that industry, it did start to change after, literally the next day. And I think that's what we're seeing is our industry is doing that same thing. We're becoming more resilient. We're making those adjustments. And then, like I said, for me, we just got to make sure that we don't lose sight of what we learned and we keep forward. Let's keep building on it next year.
Adam, I was at MCI WorldCom on 9/11 at a Marriott in Toronto on a panel talking IT services with New Yorkers who had flown up that morning to join us on the panel and for the event. And I'm shocked we have never had this conversation. That's the first time I've ever heard that story. Yeah, we've never, for all the bars we've been in together at events and beers, we've never shared that story. So, see, Zoom can be almost as good.
Yeah,
Took a panel to make it happen.
But right, I think that the takeaway there is there's always going to be something out there in front of us, right? We know we wanted to make sure, right? We wanted to share a message of positivity. But listen, right? The next thing is always going to be out there, right? And it's a matter of how we handle it. What do we learn from it, and do you adjust? And I think that's where look, you see it in sports. I'm a military guy. I saw it in the military. It's not about the plan; it's about the adjustments. And do you learn from them?
Definitely. Well, I don't want to say let's put 2020 to bed because we're not completely done yet, but we got Thanksgiving coming. There's things to be thankful for as we head into 2021. Planning is underway for many MSPs, their clients, vendors as well. If we have a business, you should be looking forward. What one piece of advice would you provide for MSPs for the coming year? Put your consultant hat on. And Zach, why don't I start with you on this? What would you tell MSPs they need to be focusing on for 2021?
Yeah, I think, again, going to market, right? Revenue. How do they keep that relationship with the customer? Well, keep the relationship with the customer, make it tighter, make sure you're connecting with them. It's obviously, I think, a lot easier to get a hold of people nowadays because they're kind of stationary, usually at home working. At the same time, when it comes to technology and on a selfish note, even, but just from an industry perspective and where things are going, obviously security is top of mind, right? Every aspect that you can, everywhere you turn. So I think it's important to make sure that, and MSPs are doing it, right? They're staying, relevant. The vendors are staying relevant, and they're adopting and adapting and bundling and doing the things that, they know is right. How to go to market, how to present to the customer and improve their managed services contracts and things like that. So I think ultimately, as long as they, from a security standpoint, they have the tools that are needed to protect their customer, right? And educate their customer. And again, stay relevant. I'm using this word a lot, but ultimately, if they can do that and make sure that their customers are protected wherever they are working, their networks and their data, and they have the tools available and bundled together to present that and educate the customers so that those customers can purchase and make sure that they're secure and the MSP is secure as well with their customer. I think that's it right there. And they should be able to, through that, keep driving more revenue, get more adoption, and move forward with their businesses and increase productivity and revenue and all of that good stuff. So,
excellent points. Adam, you want to jump in? Some more thoughts? What advice?
Yeah, build on a little bit of that is make sure you have a plan. I think in the past, it would be just a little bit of, hey, we'll just see how it goes next year. I think the big thing is to make sure you have a plan. And, being a guy, I've only ever done two things. I always like to talk about sales and being in the Air Force, and love both. But so I'm going to always speak a little more from the revenue side is, really invest that time to understand how you're going to grow that business. Right. I think sometimes in the past it was a little lackadaisical on having a real revenue growth strategy, a plan of attack. How are you going to do it? We're an amazing ecosystem of technologists. And then sometimes we forget about that other part, and understanding the metrics that we understand in technology, but understand those same metrics in the world of revenue and growth. Understand there are those different channels for growth. You have your existing partners, you have prospects. Don't give up one for the other. Understand how you're going to get there. Don't just think you're going to hire a sales rep and they're going to tell you they have a Rolodex and you're just going to come in, you're going to throw them in a corner. By the way, we say that because I've done so much, work with the MSPs over the last 13 years of even doing on-sites and just wanting to always help and help them build out their go-to-market and their hiring. And I literally would go in and I'd go, oh, who's that guy? Literally sitting in a corner, no window, looking in a corner. And I'm like, oh, who's that guy, Mike? And, oh, that's Jimmy. He's our sales guy. And they literally have him in a corner and they never talk to him. They're like, yeah, he supposedly has a Rolodex. Well, I can tell you Dan and everybody's laughing. 99.9999% of the time, guys, if you're watching this, I promise you it's failed. So have a plan, understand your cadence, understand your strategy, align it to the business. Whether you're the salesperson, you have one salesperson. Talking to an MSP the other day was awesome. They're up to 12 salespeople, and the business is just booming. So have a plan.
I'm going to be looking at people that have a Rolodex because I just haven't seen a Rolodex in so many years, Adam.
You dated yourself there a little bit, Adam.
Well, by the way, when I say Rolodex, that is synonymous with they have a book of business.
Yeah, we're old enough to understand.
It's in a spreadsheet.
Excel
Thanks,
spreadsheet.
Adam.
It's in a spreadsheet.
Got it.
Yeah, this is Adam and I are in complete lockstep on. I mean, sales has never failed ever. It fails if you don't have a process. It fails if you don't have a plan to, I've heard the same thing over and over, Adam. We tried a sales guy, he failed. That's not on the sales guy. That's on you. That's on your operation. That's on your process. If you can sell one, you can sell a million. Repeat the process that you did to sell one, continue to improve. So couldn't agree more. And I will say before Zach said it, he said revenue. I wrote down profit. And then Adam backed it up. Let's start with profitability. Let's be real blunt here. Those who did the best in the early days of what we've gone through here were the profitable MSPs. It gave you the breathing room to pivot. Keep a scorecard. This should be a drinking game. You drink every time I say the word pivot. But those who are profitable coming in had the ability and the runway to be able to adapt a little bit and make some changes. So go back to profitability. And then Adam, for me and Zach, what I've seen is we've gone back to the basics that we were talking about 15 years ago. The foundation of managed services was productivity, strengthening relationships with customers, and driving profit. Those were the three. I can go back to my decks from Level Platforms from 18 years ago. It's a little more than 15 now, even, Adam. And those foundational values were in those, and they're even more true today. And I think coming back to those is vitally important, and couldn't agree with these guys more. Have a plan and a proactive approach. This isn't a wait and see. Action breeds results. And don't confuse activity with actual results, because it's not the same thing. You've got to know your plan, work your plan, and drive to be even more profitable in 2021.
Very good. I think that's all great advice, especially from the business side, because I think that's where, MSPs not necessarily generally have had the biggest strength, but that's changing a lot over the last few years, which is fantastic. Let's talk about key capabilities looking forward from a tech perspective. What areas, looking at your partners and your MSP friends that you've talked to, what areas did they need to get better? I know cybersecurity in general is one of those areas that we're seeing a lot of strength, opportunity, but what are some of the specific things that you're seeing that you'd say would be, an area to get better at or to focus on to grow their business?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just take it at a high level on cybersecurity real quick, and I'll give it to Adam and Dan, because they could probably break down some of the new technologies or features to enhance the operations and add some new vendor revenue channels too. But from a cybersecurity standpoint, again, just make sure that you as an MSP have the right tools, right? They have a way to provide their customers a backup for 365, because why? Microsoft has zero liability in their T's and C's for loss of customer data, right? So that's just something that should be there, right? It's a plug and play additional revenue stream. It's a no-brainer. Right. So I think from that perspective, that's just one thing. Make sure the products are there on the cybersecurity side. And then kind of, again, I'll kick it over to Dan and Adam, because from some new technologies that are coming out, some existing technologies that are being adopted, like Liongard and things to run streamline operations and all of that good stuff. I think those are some cool things that haven't been commoditized, so to speak, right? Like in the cybersecurity data protection industry. So I'll kind of kick it off to those guys.
You want to go, Dan?
He teed it up for you. He walked you right into Liongard.
You made me blush.
I know.
All right, I'll go.
Take it away.
But again, I'm not a big plugger, right? Notice usually I don't, I like the thought leadership component, but I think we're I will zoom out a little bit. I think what I've seen over the last few years, and by the way, this is going to go back. I'm going to bring Dan back this a little bit. I go back to when I kind of started and I was at Kaseya and Dan was at Level Platforms. This was an industry of RMM and PSAs and we did some AV and we did some backup, right? And then if you really look forward, what I really blown away by is all the amazing technologies that they'll have come into this space. And Liongard's one of them. And what we're solving for is automating and providing visibility in a lot of the things that we didn't do, right? When we onboard, you're an MSP and you onboard a new client and you're going out there and you're going out and you're doing more of a physical on-site audit of what they have. A Liongard can automate that, right? We talk about technology moving forward. Why would you want to do manually what you can automate? Increase the time that your techs that have availability, and it provides that visibility and a change, which really feeds into the overarching, look, we all know that cybersecurity is very important. But I mean, when I look at even, where, Dan and Zach and I are today, I think we represent of what's moving forward, the new technologies that are coming into the space. Now, I think the biggest challenge is there's no lie. We hear it all the time. I'm sure you guys, right, from the MSPs, it's getting harder to build that tool stack and understand which vendors should I be using. And I'm going to put it on us. It's on us to do a good job. And I'm going to put it on all of the existing vendors, some of those that have been around a long time. We've all got to do a good job of communicating to the community because they're not $4 billion companies. They have a wallet share, and we've got to be doing a good job of explaining the value proposition of what we solve for. And by the way, on how we all need to continue to work together. The MSPs made it very clear. They don't like these battles. They don't want vendor battles. They want us to be able to work together, to be able to provide a solution to them that they can use. They don't want to be talking to us about poor integrations, and so I think a little bit of that too is, we got to look back to ourselves and say, it's on us to do a good job for the MSP. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, you opened up a bit of Pandora's box there, Adam. But yes, I completely agree. I completely agree. It's the integration, the value that every application has been adding since the early days of RMM and PSA, and they were the real catalyst and tipping point, arguably, into the MSP space. But if you look at all of the innovation, I mean, companies like Liongard, like Warranty Master, ScalePad, we didn't exist back then, right? This was, the market had to mature to a certain point, and I'll let you in. We couldn't have been successful with Warranty Master early on without the market wasn't ready early on. When you look at, I wish I'd done that 5 years earlier. Nope, you couldn't have. Sorry, the market wasn't ready. Without the proliferation of RMM and PSA, we wouldn't even have the integrations to be able to deliver the value we do. So as an MSP, and I know you know this who are watching this, innovation is the constant. Differentiation. We are having conversations now about the commoditization of managed services. MSP was supposed to be the answer to commoditization of the break-fix model, and here we are a decade later talking about commoditization and MSP. That's only happening to those who are not continuing to innovate, not looking for new solutions, who are not, frankly, adopting security as fast as they should and making it a part of their nomenclature and what they're bringing to partners, adopting new technologies like Liongard, like ScalePad, like others. There's so many that you find your vertical, find what's new and go in, because same old is going to be older and older and older every single week, month, and year. So I think we're on the verge of another innovation stack and maturing of the market, which is differentiation. I've seen it with our own partners with just, the feature and functionality they use inside of our application. It's happening today. And I think it's going to be an exciting time. We'll get through all the, again, S word that we've gone through here in 2020, and we will pivot, one last drink, into 2021. I think it'll be outstanding.
Yeah, I think I guess those are excellent points. And going back to Zach with Office 365 and all of the different tool sets, I think we've also taken a big shift, and there's uncertainty as far as where end users are going to be in a year from now. That whole gambit of having a really good remote tool set, I think MSPs pivoted extremely well. I'm going to take your term, Dan. They pivoted very well to grab that tool set, but making sure that they all work and integrate and flow well, and all the vendors are working together to support them on that is a challenge. But the good news is I'm optimistic, because to Adam's point, I'm seeing more of the vendors, I think, that are building that ecosystem where what does a partner need and how can we make this work? So that's a good positive I've seen. Let's look longer term, because I hate to say it, we're getting short on time here, but let's take one look further out. Put your crystal ball on, or look in your crystal ball. What will MSP's roles be? How will they change? Will they significantly change over the next 3 to 5 years? What do you see? You guys have been, and I'm not going to date you, but there's a lot of decades experience on this panel. So I'm hoping you put your hat on and say, what do you see happening?
Zach, we're ready.
Go, Zach.
I mean, Dan, ready to go?
No, you go.
You guys, we got to extend. I think Dan just mentioned, commoditization of the MSP, right? I mean, that's a pretty scary 2 words to think about. What does that mean? I mean, I think ultimately, I think that, just as technology has evolved over the years, the MSP will also evolve. But the need for an MSP to directly serve, I think, and maintain a relationship with their business customer, that will continue to be relevant and always remain constant. So I think just as things have evolved back in the day from a VAR, right, not billing monthly for services and IT and all the way through, right? I mean, you just adopt and adapt and evolve. So AI and all these things, automation. I mean, it makes ScalePad possible. It makes Liongard possible. It makes Vault America possible, and automation possible. And it's just going to be new tools, different tools, better tools. So the MSP, whether it's called the MSP or AIP or whatever the hell you want to call ourselves at that point in time, that relationship will always exist. Right. And these customers, small, mid-size, enterprise, right, to a certain level, they're going to be outsourcing technologies, right, or functions or what have you. And again, I think it's always going to be relevant. It might not be MSP, just like it was never always value-added reseller, VAR, but whatever it is, will still be relevant. The industry will still be relevant.
It's technology consultants. As long as there's technology, it's not going to change, right? So I'm going to go back a little bit again, just because when Dan and I were both in the RMM side, right? And Microsoft was coming, we were all afraid, and right, it was going to be the end of RMM. It didn't happen. The cloud is coming. And then guess what? Now MSPs are managing the cloud for their clients, right? And so, whether there's an endpoint, complete, no more endpoints in 10 years or 5 years or 1 year, the need for someone to manage the technology stack, it's not going away. Whether the name stays as a managed service provider or technology consultant or whatever it is, there's going to be a need. And it's just going to be, to your point, Zach, the types of technologies that we need to be able to help manage and help, look, sometimes it's coaching them, right? The MSP is not building the technology, but they're helping them navigate, make the choices on which tools that they should be using, right? And then, of course, and managing and monitoring those. Look, we always got it. The job is perfect when the client doesn't know the MSP exists, right? Everything works. And as long as there's a risk of everything not working, there will always be an MSP.
The demise of the IT services industry has been written multiple times. It was from the reseller to the value added MSP. We went through it. Oh no, now that you can do everything remote, there's going to be, statewide or national MSPs, and the regional MSP is going to evaporate. We've had it recently with, there's added M&A activity. Is that going to be the demise? The answer is no. It's relationship with customer. The complexity continues to go up. This has been the one constant. When we thought managed services, virtualization, cloud computing, all of this self-serve with O365, that was going to be the demise of the regional IT service provider. The exact opposite. They've excelled. They've become more profitable. To Adam's point, we've become more valuable to the marketplace than ever before. That, Zach, I think you said it right. Go back and read CRN magazine from 1999. You can read about the demise of the channel because of the new innovation. We've read it 4 times for those of us with real gray hair. Adam, see that? That's no color. But I think we're going to continue. I think, again, this is a great time to continue to innovate. My vote is virtual CIO. I think VCIO, could that be the next? I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with both these guys. This is going not away. It's accelerating.
I don't think the term, it always goes back to the term doesn't matter as much. I'm actually seeing the term solution provider being used a lot more again.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
It's having a revival here. And, it comes back to the same thing we were talking about is the focus needs to be on the customer, not on the MSP or the IT service provider. And the vast majority, I think, get that. It's just, where to go next and what things that their clients need. So those are awesome. So, well, before we sign off today, I want to do a quick round of final thoughts because you guys have been awesome. Great insight as always. But Dan, why don't I start with you on final thoughts you'd like to leave with before we sign off today?
It's Thanksgiving. Let's be thankful for what we've got and what we have to look forward to. Frankly, it's been quite a year. They all are with their own way, but this has been a special one. But I think we've proven our worth, proven our value, and come through it. And I think we've got nothing but better times ahead across the board.
I'm all for that. Adam?
Yeah, same thing. Just want to acknowledge everybody. We are coming to the end of the year, and we've made it. We'll look back and acknowledge some of the losses and the mistakes, but it is about going forward. And for me personally, I may not have the gray hair to show it. It's definitely gotten a little higher. I think I'm up to 4 fingers, Dan. It used to be 2. I don't know. I'm seeing some commonality there, but. Look, I have been, and I always mean this when I say it, I've been so lucky to have been introduced to the MSP ecosystem. And, once I found it, I never wanted to leave. I love being a part of it. I love the relationships that we share inside this ecosystem. I love and look forward to when we go back to the shows and that camaraderie, we all kid around, but a lot of us have had the event and we're talking business and we're doing our breakouts. But the thing I miss the most is just that one-on-one time, or one-to-many time when we're just hanging out, and it's the MSPs and it's us as the vendors. And by the way, even when we competed, we always knew each other. We'd all hang out, and I miss that. And I think that's one of the things that drives our ecosystem. And I really, truly look forward to seeing everybody again in 2021.
Very good. Zach, why don't you bring us home with the last thought?
Yeah, I sympathize and totally agree with Dan and Adam. I miss you guys, even though we're here. I still miss you, and I miss you even more now. And I can't wait to have that drink together at some point. But we do have to be thankful. I think there are, despite the hell this whole world's going through, there is a lot of silver linings. There are a lot of silver linings. It's hard to see through the curtains at some point in the clouds. But ultimately, I think just kind of recapping, look, MSP, virtual CIO, we're always going to be relevant. The only time in this world where there might be zero relevance for an MSP is when vendors stop using partners to sell their products, which I don't think is ever going to happen. But ultimately, look, it's a great world. We are blessed to be in this industry. Remember that. I always say, my worst day is somebody else's best day. So I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of good things, a lot of good people, a lot of love. We're all, I think, we met through business, but we're friends first, ultimately. And life is short. Looking forward to 2021. Absolutely. 2022 and 2023, and being back in the stadium, hitting some balls and at some concerts and at the bar with all my friends. So cheers. I love you guys. Love this industry again. And Brian, thank you. IOTA, appreciate you all.
Hey, maybe next time I see you guys, I'll have gray hair. Dan, what do you think? Brown, black hair next time for you?
Yeah, I don't think I'd go black, Adam. I'll try brown for you.
Maybe a little pink on top. Options. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of IOTA, I wish to thank Dan Wensley of ScalePad, Adam Slutskin of Liongard, and Zak Karsan of Vault America for participating in today's discussion. You can check out all of their companies on the IOTA Security Showcase too. I encourage you to check it out, see what they have to offer, and get in touch with them. Great expertise to share too, if you don't know them. I can't believe anybody doesn't know this group, but anyway, thanks as well to all of our listeners for joining us. Have a safe and secure day.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
See you guys.
Dan.
Cheers.